And we're live. Welcome to the live stream Q&A. I'm here to answer your questions. I want to help you get your project going, whatever that means. So any question you might have, that is why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. I think there's a lot of value in us coming together and talking about various things. And if I can help you along the way, that's awesome. Whether it's the content I create or any other content, because like you, I'm still learning all the time as well. I think if you stop learning, that's when you start really falling behind. And I am actively making this stuff happen. Like when I talk about making what happen, I'm actively learning all the time. You have to. You just have to. So I tend to ask myself a lot of questions that I need to solve itself. But then when you guys ask questions, I just get so much better at what I do because of the questions that you ask. So thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. Now let's jump into some of the live chat. We've got Amini saying hello there. Hello, Amini. My name's Justin. Nice to see you. Or, well, to read from you, I guess is a better way to put it. I don't know. Whatever. Chahudi, is that how you say Miguel? I think I've seen you before. Thank you for being back. Hello and welcome. Let me know your name, pronunciation, if it's not clear to a mostly just English speaker like me. I really do try to get to know you guys and your names, but sometimes I just don't know them. I'm really sorry about that. One thing I would also ask is, where are you from? I'm from Southern California in the United States. I grew up in a city called Irvine, if you've ever heard of it. Very lucky to have grown up in California. I love it here, but I also love to travel, and I like seeing other places and meeting people from other parts of the world. And luckily, this is a way that I do get to meet some of you in other parts of the world. So let's keep going. C. Roberth. Hey, what's your favorite software architecture and why? I'm currently using MVP in Flutter. So when you say software architecture, what do you mean by that specifically? I'm curious as to what you're saying there, because I'm not familiar with Flutter, so I haven't used that one. Thanks for the question, though. If you're referring to what software I use on a regular basis, whether it's on my machine or a setup, like my actual dev architecture, I can tell you that too. So just please clarify it for me. I should be able to get on there. And then I have what looks like a Russian name. I can't pronounce it. Sorry. Hello. Thank you for Django 1.11. Thank you for watching. I'm glad that you have been able to do it and you found a good job. That's awesome. That's so great to hear. I would love, obviously being an entrepreneur myself, I would love to hear people started a business and is just killing it. But getting a good job is one of those things, especially if you're interested in software. That's one of those ways that you will get a lot better at it, in addition to some of the other things I talk about. But once you get a job working day in and day out on software, you will get a lot better too. And especially if you are, following up with a boss of some kind that would be giving you continuous feedback. Yeah. And in conjunction, your software, your computer does give you feedback immediately too. If things aren't working, that is immediate feedback, which is something that's really cool. You contrast that with doing something like statistics by hand. You often think, oh, well, maybe I got the right answer, but maybe you didn't. That's something that's interesting. Amini, just in time, bro. Yep, just in time. 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Started a little bit early. I do that every once in a while. Adrian, hello from Cameroon. Hey, what's up? Welcome back. I think we talked last time, right? Was that 2 days ago that we talked? I'm pretty sure you're there. C. Robert is laughing at me. Awesome. Great to hear it. Whatever. So Min7, hi, I was following your REST API course. Awesome. And thank you for the clarity. You're welcome. Thanks for watching. I'm glad it helped clear things up for you. Peter Navarro, hey, you're in Covina. Nice. Not too far from me, huh? Covina, California. And the Russian user, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm really just not familiar with that alphabet. I'm from north of Russia. It's about 5 Celsius outdoor. Oof. 5 Celsius. That is tough. Yeah. I don't think I've ever lived in something like that. Yvonne. Thank you. Cool, Alex. Thanks for I appreciate you clarifying that for me, Alex D'Angelo. His name's Ivan Petrov. How do you know how to pronounce it, Alex? Being that you're from Toronto, do you know Russian, or is there a way to like automatically translate or translate these names? Just curious. Yeah. So welcome. Hey, that message went away. Maybe that's not correct. I don't know. That's weird. Okay. Next question, or a real question now. So let's see. Abdullah asks, what do I think about TTD? I think you mean TDD, meaning test-driven development. I think it's a good idea to actually run tests while you're developing your project. I believe there's actually a full-on methodology for TDD, one of which that I don't necessarily follow to a T because I've never been formally trained in it, and I've never had a really solid interest in doing TDD, to be honest. I do a lot of tests, though, so I do write tests, and I would imagine that falls under the line of TDD. So I just writing unit tests and whatnot in Django. I do that a lot, especially for my projects. You kind of have to. So yeah, I definitely do my own version of test-driven development. Hopefully that answers your question. I know that there's a lot of jobs that do demand you to get more test-driven stuff. Cool. And Alex D'Angelo. Oh, cool. So Russian's your second language. That's awesome. So Alex, for some reason, the name that you mentioned was retracted. Like what I see is, hey, I'm from Toronto, welcome. And then it says, it did say the actual name and now it's retracted. Did you delete it or was that YouTube? I still don't know what those message retracted things mean on my end. So please let me know. Shitan says, hi, Justin. Hello, Shitan. Welcome. Appreciate you being here. Gerald Gutierrez says, hello from Bolivia. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for coming out. Marco says, great OpenCV video. Are you going to make another one soon? I actually released 2 today. If you're not referring to those 2, yes, I'm going to be doing more with OpenCV in general because it's a really interesting package itself. So yeah, I mean, definitely stay tuned. Subscribe to get everything on joincv.com/YouTube. And also make sure you hit that bell. I would imagine if you're here, you probably have already done that. But I say this for those of you who may be watching in the future on the actual recorded one. Okay. So Mohammed Saad asks, how to create a scalable Django projects. So when you're talking about this, a lot of it has to do with your server infrastructure as well. So the easiest way to do it is using Heroku because it is a scalable service that you can scale up your web apps in general, not just Django. So using something like Heroku makes all of that a lot easier. Now, if you are talking about setting up your own servers, like a cloud service like DigitalOcean or EC2, you're going to want to set up a load balancer. You're going to want to probably have some redundancy there. So with the load balancer comes redundant servers that will actually handle any sort of server load that may occur. And once you do that, then you can scale up your backend service accordingly. You'll also want to use CDNs or content delivery networks for all your static files. So those are a couple of the general things of where you're going to want to go. I mean, there's a lot that we could talk about there, and I do want to answer the question now. Yes, Django is absolutely scalable to millions of users. Instagram and Pinterest have proven that. Okay, next one. Greetings from Ukraine again. Hello and welcome. Was it Sergey? Is that how I pronounce your name? I'm not positive. Sorry for... I really need to learn these names. And please, if there is a way to pronounce them, please write that pronunciation first if you want me to say your name. I realize some of you might not care about that, I guess. Like I wouldn't. I don't know. If you don't know how to pronounce Justin, that's okay with me. No worries. Anyways, so tell me, having confident knowledge in Python, what web technologies are worth learning other than Django? What now comes first? So if you already mastered Django or you feel really good about Django, then you want to learn, most likely you'll either want to learn a front-end web technology or a server-side technology, such as like a database technology like MySQL. But really you'd probably do a front-end, something front-end. So maybe JavaScript, maybe building like mobile applications, whether it's with Java or Swift for Android and iOS respectively. That's what I would do next. But of course, that would assume that you know how to build REST API stuff. So when I said JavaScript, yes, you could use React, you could use Angular, you can use jQuery. There's a lot of things that you can go forward with there. But I would say some sort of front-end technology and possibly just JavaScript. If you are well-versed in Python, like JavaScript would be another language that would be really good in your wheelhouse for web technologies. And then once you know JavaScript really well, then you'll have a better idea of what framework you might use, whether it's React or Angular or Vue or something like that. Okay. Albert, hey Justin, you're from India. Hey Albert, thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. Thank you for all of you for coming out. I really am starting to enjoy this. I didn't do one yesterday, and it was just kind of weird. I felt like I missed something out of the day. And so, because I like interacting with you guys, and you know, sometimes that's just not the practical thing. I mean, like, I'm just gonna really quickly show you. This is my office, right? Like, I don't see anybody. Like, nobody's normally standing right there, paying attention. So it's awesome being able to actually talk to real people in real time. You know, at some point, maybe we'll have to do an actual physical live event where I do have you guys right in front of me and we ask these questions in person. But it's really nice having you guys here. Anyways, Albert, thank you for the message. Can you guide me to start a career as a Python Django developer? Should I learn Node.js with Express.js instead of Django? So you asked me if I can guide you of being a Python Django developer, and then you asked me if you should learn Node.js. So if you want to be a Python and Django developer, learn everything you can about both of those things. Python has a lot of libraries that are awesome, like really, really good. So I would recommend that you stick with Python, master it until you're finding career opportunities. To find career opportunities, number one, tell all your friends that you're looking for something in that area. Never be desperate or needy. Those things are completely unattractive to everybody else. Don't spam people, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter how good your skills are. Honestly, it does not matter how good your skills are. If you are desperate, needy, or pushy, those things automatically turn so many people off. Sure, you might be able to get one or two jobs out of it, but in the long run, I think that's not the way to go. So instead, you come in very humbly, right? So if I were to, let's say, for example, if I were to take a job for an absolute junior Django developer, and I was completely humble about it and being like, yeah, I know a little bit about Django and blah, blah, blah. And then they put me down and I start working very, very quickly. They'll be like, wait a minute, you know a lot more about Django than you let on. That is so much better than being like, I know everything about Django. I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. And then you meet up with somebody who's even better than you. And they're like, you don't know anything about Django. So when it comes to career opportunities and career jobs, you have to stick with mastering and honing one of those skills before you can really provide value for an organization. And that's what they would be looking for you with. So the other side of it is not just knowing the technology, which you can take a bunch of courses, you can watch a bunch of videos, but you actually have to do it. So like if you can recite the Django docs, that's great. But if you can't build a Django app, that's not great. That's really bad, actually. It's useless to be able to recite the docs without being able to put them into action is what I'm saying. So make projects. Go on GitHub, release project after project after project. You can look at my GitHub as a sort of inspiration. It's on joincfe.com/GitHub. Those are a bunch of projects, period. I mean, not all of them are great. Not all of them are even complete. But there are a bunch of projects on there. So it's sort of a portfolio of mine that I could use if I were to try and convince somebody to give me a job, or to work with somebody, or convince you guys that it's worth investing your time with me because I have all that code there. You can go invest your time there right now without really jumping in for the more advanced things, right? So I do that right now. And I would say that you can do that too. Just finish projects. And even if they're small, just do that, continuously do that, and talk about your experience, potentially on a blog or a YouTube video. And I promise you things will start to happen. You just have to have a very humble mindset and be willing to provide a lot more value than you get in return, right? So when I say a lot more value, I mean quite literally doing a lot of free stuff for your potential audience, your potential boss, your potential whomever, clients, because eventually you will start to find the people who really value your work and will share that value in terms of hiring or buying your product or your service or whatever. That was a great question. Thank you for that. I realized I totally went on a little bit of a rant there. I rant every once in a while, as a lot of you on the YouTube streams has seen. Konatech, hi, how are you? I'm great. Thank you for asking. How are you? Kona asks if I'm going to do Django 2.0. Yes, I'm going to be doing Try Django 2.0 in the near future. It's going to happen. When is it going to be released? I don't have an answer for you there. I'm sorry. I just don't. There's several other things that are pending still. So just make sure you subscribe and we'll have stuff out. Honestly, try Django 1.11. If you are interested in Django 2.0, try Django 1.11. Do that whole thing if you haven't already. And then read my blog post on Django 2.0 on joincfe.com/blog, and you'll have a general idea of what's different in Django 2.0. And then try Django 1.11 will have, pretty much everything else. Okay, cool. Alex, thanks. Oh, so you did remove it. Yeah, his name's Ivan Petrov. Alex, thank you. I appreciate it. Ivan, I haven't heard back from you. Maybe you just laughed at me and left. Was that you? I don't know. Whatever. Okay, Marcos, greeting from Guatemala. Any idea how to deploy Django channels on AWS with EB? So Django channels version 2 actually just came out. So deploying it on Elastic Beanstalk, I don't have an answer for you there. I'm sure it's probably similar to deploying it with Django channels 1. But to be honest with you, I'm not positive if Django channels 2 is ready for production. I believe it is. I don't think they would have released it if it wasn't. But I don't have that answer yet. So I don't really have a good answer for you. Now, if you're using Elastic Beanstalk for Django channels 1, which I would imagine is going to be similar to Django channels 2, you're going to want to have a worker process, and you're going to want to have your regular server process. So you'll have those two processes at least. One is going to be running the worker. One's going to be running your normal thread. And you'll also probably have Redis in there as well for a message queue. Now, setting up Redis or any sort of message queue like RabbitMQ with Elastic Beanstalk, in my experience, has been harder than doing all of those things on Heroku. For example, joincfe.com, we have a messaging system in there that uses Django channels 1, and it does a lot of the things I just mentioned. Okay, so Raheel, hello from Pakistan. Hello, welcome. Did try Django 1.11. Your video then updated to 2.0. That was a good experience. What do you recommend for front end? Oh, cool. So this should answer Konatech's question earlier that I kind of elaborated on a little bit more. You do 1.0, you do any version, 1.11, you do any version, and then you update to the next one, and Django will probably give you a bunch of errors, and then you Google those errors, and then you fix them, and boom, you now have a Django 2.0 version, especially for beginners. If you're more advanced, I don't know if you would even ask me that question, because you know that the versions barely change. They do change, but they barely change. So sticking with the LTS version, which is what 1.11 is a good idea. So because Django 2.0 will lose support before Django 1.11. Django 1.11 will have support from the core developers. The new security patches will be released for like a year and a half longer than Django 2.0. Just something to note. And all of that stuff's written in their docs. I'm not just making that up. It's definitely on their docs for their release schedule. Raheel asks, what do I recommend for front end? I really like Angular because I really like TypeScript. I think TypeScript compiles into JavaScript or pure JavaScript very well, and it's just a very clean way to write JavaScript, in my opinion, if you aren't ready to learn pure JavaScript, which obviously can be the cleanest way to do it. So I really like Angular, and I would recommend maybe checking out my series on Try Angular version 4. All that being said, there's so many of you on here that will probably tell me that I have to do React, and everyone has to do React and React and React and React. So React.js is really, really good. I won't debate that. It's really popular. They're both very popular, but it's kind of like saying which one's better, Coke or Pepsi. That's how I feel. And oddly enough, one's red and one's blue. Yeah. And React is the red, or excuse me, Angular is the red one. And I also used to like Coca-Cola more. I do not drink soda anymore, but that's for another time. Thanks for the question, guys. Really appreciate it, guys and gals. I realize that you are both are on here. Although, if statistics are any indication, it's more than likely you're mostly men. Okay, so please do courses on individual parts of Django, like forms, models, views, etc. Thanks for the recommendation or the suggestion. I have all of that on joincfe.com/projects. I'm assuming that you mean put it here on YouTube. It's definitely something that I probably have to consider a lot more of. What my website's for is for taking your basic skill on YouTube or any of those basic introductions and getting you ready for the next level. So whatever that next level is, that's what that website's for. Learning more in depth about individual topics or individual parts of Django, that to me is more advanced, and that's when you're like ready to commit to that next level. So let me know if you have questions on that, or if you have questions about these things in particular, because I can probably put you into some sort of category there. Okay, so Mohammed asks, what's the difference between concurrency and parallelism? I feel like that Wikipedia would better answer this for you. It goes into detail there for both of those things. And honestly, I'm not well versed enough in both of them to give you a really good answer. So I'll have to read Wikipedia myself and get back to you on that one. I have general ideas about both of them, but I don't want to give you the wrong advice. So check out Wikipedia, because I think there's a lot there specifically for those things. Sorry, that's just the nature of things for me. Do you know the concepts of data science? I've read about that, and it's possible to implement with Python. Data scientists use Python all the time. They also use R, so it's another programming language called R. But Python is definitely one of them. They use a package called NumPy, that's NUMPY, as well as Pandas. Those are some of the popular things to analyze data with, in conjunction with the machine learning libraries like scikit-learn, or deep learning libraries like TensorFlow, Keras. So yeah, Python definitely can do data science. Now, you don't have to use NumPy or any of those to run things that are related to data science, like doing statistics. You can do statistics with just pure old Python. It's not necessarily as fast, but you can do it. NumPy and Pandas will be a lot faster to do those things, but data scientists use Python fairly often, and yes, it's very often that they use Python. Did I say that twice? So another thing I did want to mention, though, is a lot of times you'll also see Anaconda or Conda. Anaconda is a version of Python that is made for data scientists. Although as a web developer, I don't typically jump into Anaconda because it has a lot of things out of the box that I don't necessarily need. And then it also has conflicts with a lot of other Python things that I've seen. In other words, Django doesn't often play well with Anaconda, or at least it didn't used to. Maybe it does now, but it didn't used to. So I don't typically use that. Instead, I use just a virtual environment and install the things I need to install. Thanks for the question. Alex D'Angelo, now for the real question. I am struggling publishing my Django project on, is that LLS 10 or IIS 10? I'm not sure what you wrote there. Is there a place where this is properly explained? Tutorial details. I don't know what IIS 10 is or LLS 10. I'm not sure what that is, so please clarify that. Publishing your project on, I don't know what that is. So if you mean deployment, please be clear about that. So going into production, let me know about that too. Shahuti Miguel. Hello, Justin. I am working on a web system and connect my Django with Jasper Reports server to serve my reports. It seems a good way. However, continue next content. I know that it's also possible to create reports on the fly with ReportLab or WheezyPrint. Have you considered some more advanced course? So I actually cover how to generate PDF files on one of my YouTube videos. So I think I called it render to PDF. So it would work similar to like render to template. Is that what it is? Or no, render to response is what the original idea was. But anyways, I have a way to make PDFs fairly simply with, I believe it uses ReportLab. I think that's part of it. And you can build them on the fly. It's not, I don't think it's that hard to do. But is it super advanced as in like, can you embed graphics and images and stuff like that? I'm sure there's a way. I don't think what I built is actually ready for that, but there are other things that you can implement. So consider checking that one out. Peter, it looks like you retracted your most recent question or you deleted it or something with YouTube. I don't know if that means delete. Would love clarification on that. Mohammed asks, can we convert a Django project into PWA? PWA. That sounds so familiar. Progressive web apps. Oh, right. Duh. So you got a lot of good questions that are stumping me a little bit. I don't believe you can. So I don't. Well, let me rephrase this. I actually don't know that much about progressive web apps, but I'm fairly certain Django doesn't actually turn into a progressive web app. But what you can do is turn it into an asynchronous web app, which I think often those might be able to be replaced or are replaceable. So you can use Django channels to do that, to make it into an asynchronous web application. But I feel like progressive web apps are more related to the front end client side. Actually, I'm going to just look it up. Since we're on here, this is really interesting. Are user experiences that reach the web and are reliable, load instantly, and never show the dinosaur? Got it. So these are front-end applications. These are not back-end. Just kind of went blank on that one for a minute. So front-end applications, like I believe that React and Angular are considered progressive web applications. So Django is not something that can be converted into a PWA as far as I know. But that asynchronous stuff is still very interesting and useful. Thanks for the questions, Mohammed. You are doing awesome. Really, really appreciate it. This is why I do it. It's like you guys ask questions that I just don't know the answer to, and then I have to look it up, and then I have to learn. It's great. Bike is useful and funny. Okay, interesting. Thank you for that statement. Hello. Oh, my bike. You think that's funny because the tires are flat? I realized that I showed you guys my room in here, and my bike was there, and I haven't used it yet this summer or this year because I need to get it fixed, and I haven't been biking. I have no good reason there. Okay, next one. Not sure how to pronounce your name, but I'll go ahead and jump in and say hello. Please do a tutorial about GUnicorn and Nginx and deploy in general. We cover how to use GUnicorn on the Heroku one. It's actually really simple. It's one line. And we haven't done it with Nginx yet, but thank you for the suggestion. I do appreciate it. Do you have any tips for freelancing on sites like Upwork and Freelancer? A couple things. Go in as a job hirer. Go in as a hirer. Go in as a client. Look around for what you're trying to do and see what the common thread is and do the opposite of that. So if they're all saying like best Django, Python, Ruby, PHP, blah, 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 developer, do the opposite, meaning you're just really good at one thing. I'm the best possible, or I try to be the best possible Django developer, or something along those lines. Because saying that you're the best, I think, is super subjective. So maybe that's not even a good example. But saying that you work hard to deliver things, that's something that they all say. So you want to really figure out a way to kind of stand out and do the opposite of what everyone else is doing, because that's one thing that you want to stand out with. Two, don't overcharge yet until you've made a good amount of money on that platform. Don't overcharge, because I promise you, people that use freelancers all the time are looking for a good deal. One, especially if you don't have a lot of experience, they definitely want a good deal. And then finally, if you're really, really good, meaning you communicate really well, it doesn't mean that your English is good. It just means that you can ask questions. You let them know what's going on. You don't go cold for a few days. You actually respond as fast as possible. If you don't know something, you tell them you don't know that, and you're looking it up. It's simple, right? I mean, it shows humility, I think, and I also think that that's a good way to keep that person as a client for a long term. Yeah. Mohammed, will there be a course for Let's Encrypt? Let's Encrypt is really easy to use. I believe that I did it with the DigitalOcean course that I have on joincv.com/projects. I'm not positive about that, but that is something that we'll have to do. Please, Mohammed, after this is done, or any of you, after this is done, please put your suggestions in the comments of the video after it finishes live, and write suggestion, and then your suggestion, and then everybody else, let's upvote those things. And it's a lot of work. I realize that I'm asking a lot, but what it will help is for all of us to kind of be on the same page as to what should go next. And like I've said before, I do have a lot of things pending that I'm going to be releasing, but at the same time, I do want to try and get the things that you guys are looking for as well. So thanks for the suggestion, Mohammed. I do appreciate it. Peter, Justin, would it be wise to learn other backend technologies like PHP? What are the advantages of being a Python web developer as opposed to other web technologies? Well, I'll speak on the Python thing first. Python itself is not just a web technology. We just got done talking about data science. That doesn't have to rely on web. You can get this data from sensors, from like a microcontroller, from like a Raspberry Pi, which could be written all in Python as well. So you can do a lot with Python that isn't related to web development. I don't know if the same is true for PHP, for example. And I'm fairly certain it's not true for Ruby on Rails or, JavaScript, you can probably do a lot of these things too. So maybe JavaScript and Python are the ones that you can do a lot of these things with, possibly even Java. Java and JavaScript are different, but Python itself is more than just web. Definitely more than just web. So you can launch rockets with it. I know SpaceX and NASA have used it for rocket-related things. You can do animations. You can make games. You can do all sorts of things with it. So it's definitely beyond just web. And would it be wise to learn other things like PHP? Number one, if you have a general interest in learning more about backend technologies, then yeah, absolutely. Follow what you're interested in and follow it to a point where you feel comfortable with it. But if you're doing it because you're bouncing around and you're just not sure which one to pick one, stick with it, get really, really good at it, and then you'll know what to do next. Or you can come and ask me, and we'll talk about it. I mean, I don't know you, so I don't know how to give you absolute advice. And even if I did give you absolute advice, you should do what feels right to you and where your energy and effort goes. So if you're thinking about PHP all the time, do it. You know, if you're thinking about Python all the time, like I do, keep doing it. That's what I've been doing. Okay, Simone, how is PostgreSQL and S3 work together? So they don't really work together. I mean, they can through something else, but they don't. PostgreSQL is a database solution. Let me rephrase this. There is probably a way for them to somehow communicate that I don't know about, but more likely than not, they don't work together. So PostgreSQL is a database solution that you can actually deploy on AWS in general. So Amazon Web Services in general, you can deploy a Postgres database. S3 is also on AWS. That is for storing static files like images, videos, CSS files, HTML files, just files. It's a file store. So they're definitely different. But what you could do is you could use Django to work with both of those things. So Django can talk to S3 and PostgreSQL for you, or your database for you, basically. And you can do it with other programming languages as well. It doesn't have to be just Django, but that's an example of how those would work together. Mohammed, are you a self-taught programmer or a CS graduate? I am a self-taught programmer. I have taken a lot of things with computer science online, and I read a lot, and I'm always trying to improve. So the questions that I get from CS graduates often push me towards learning more about different CS concepts. Now, the reason I'm a programmer in the first place was because I wanted to start a business, and I realized that learning how to code was the thing to do for that. So yeah, there's definitely gaps in my knowledge for the theory because of the lack of taking a true CS way or course, but I'm so much about practicality. So that's why I do a lot more practical things. And when I need to learn the theory, I do, and I do it based off of what, the questions you've been asking, based off of some of those things, as well as just what I've, sometimes I get recommended a video or a friend tells me of something and I watch it. Cool. Simone asks, wait, you answered your own question. Oh, wait, no. Should S3 only be used for static and media files? Yes. Yes, it should. Model instances, what are you referring to? So you can most likely store machine learned models in S3. I'm pretty sure people do that right now. So if you did something in Keras or TensorFlow, I believe you can store those models inside of S3. But when you say model instances, I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but probably, just what I just said. So yeah. Okay, thanks for the questions, Simone. Omar Worth Jonathan asks, hey Justin, can we expect a project with private chat anytime soon? This is going to be related to Django channels. I believe those things will have to go hand in hand. So yes, eventually it will happen. Soon, I don't have an answer for you there. Like I've been saying through this whole thing, got a lot of things pending, and I'm really, really working hard on making those happen. Yeah. Okay, so Abdallah, yes, I meant TDD. Thank you for correcting me. Another question. If you are hiring a junior Django developer, what makes someone a perfect candidate to you? I kind of just went over this with the freelancing stuff and how to make yourself stand out. So just go back to that. I mean, also if somebody's clearly passionate and working really hard, I think I will tend to notice those things, but it's hard to prove that when you're applying for a job. So, that's where you have to learn as much about what job you're trying to go for. So if somebody was going to try and work with me, they would have to learn as much about me and what I do as possible. Maybe sit on one of these YouTube videos and ask me a ton of questions like you guys are. And then eventually, maybe we'll be able to make a connection, and then that would be the sort of candidate that I want. But basically somebody who's super interested in what they do, whether it's Django developer, whether it's a videographer, they really have to love what they do. And hopefully they work in a similar fashion that I do, which is, we cut off everything else when we need to get something done. And I mean, that's just one of many things that I would look for as a great candidate. I don't think there's such of a thing as perfect candidate. I think you can only be great or stand out, but being perfect is, I don't think humans can be perfect. Vitali, hey, what's up? Sorry, I have to remember that. I got to commit that to memory. So Vitali, thanks for bearing with me. And thank you for pronouncing or showing the pronunciation of your name once again. I do appreciate that. Face the problem of building an application architecture, i.e. how correctly to design classes in Python or Django. What would you recommend? So designing classes have you read or gone through any of our code on GitHub? That would be a good idea of how you actually write classes, especially the ones with the class-based views, or the also the models. Hopefully that answers your question. Not sure if it does, but that's what I would consider looking up. If you're talking about more on a general level with Python as far as classes are concerned, please let me know so I can better address that. Thanks, Vitaly. See you again or have you on here. And I'm sorry that I forgot how to pronounce your name. I really have to try and commit that to memory. I'm not positive if I will, but I will try. Okay, so Simone asks, how do you pass data through different views without saving it until I'm ready to save? You can use request sessions. I wouldn't put a whole lot of stuff in there, but I'm not sure why you wouldn't be saving this data. So I would say a little bit amount of data. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Thank you, buddy, for your generous response and guidance. Absolutely, anytime, Albert. Thanks for being here. Will you be releasing more deep learning content? I do intend to do a lot more on deep learning. It's a lot to learn for myself. So there are things that you can do really quickly, but then having a better or a solid understanding of what it is, it does take time. So I'm learning myself. I'm taking classes. I'm watching videos. I'm reading blog posts. I'm implementing code. I'm trying things out. I'm doing all of those things myself. So once I have a really good handle on it and I feel like I can give you guys some value, I'll bring it out. In the meantime, you can check out a few resources that I found really useful. There's Suraj Raval, or I can't pronounce his name, but if you type out Suraj, like deep learning on YouTube, you'll find some stuff that's pretty good. You can also check out Sentdex, Sentdex. Harrison, he's a great guy. He's put out a ton of content. You could probably learn a lot of Python stuff from him as well. Another thing would be Andrew Ng's stuff. Andrew has Coursera.com or .org. He has that website for training with deep learning. There's also Udacity, also a great one for deep learning there. Udacity is definitely the most expensive out of all of these, and in many cases, I think it's worth it. And then there's Fast.ai. All of it's free. A lot of interesting information at Fast.ai. So that would be something else that I'd check out. Thanks for the question. I really appreciate it. Man, just one little scroll and it goes all the way to the bottom. Okay, DJ Azari. Nice to see you again, Michael. Are you referring to somebody else or me? Maybe you're referring to me. Sometimes people confuse my last name, Michael. My last name's Mitchell, not Michael. They're similar, so I get it. If it's to me, nice to see you again. If it's to somebody else named Michael, thanks to both of you for being here. Simone, when using request meta, would I do request.meta, remote add or get? Oh, okay. So this is more of a question about dictionaries. So request meta is a dictionary. So when you look up things in a dictionary, you can use the brackets or the curly brackets, right? So if you use, let me rephrase that. You can use the brackets or .get parentheses. So with the brackets, that means that you know for sure that item is in there. When you do .get, that means that you're not sure that item's in there, so you can set a default value for it. And when you are not sure if it's in there, .get is really good because it won't run any sort of exception. Where using the square brackets, that can run an exception. So I often use .get on any sort of dictionary that I'm not sure has the value I'm looking for, and request meta is one of those things. Hopefully that answers your question, Simone. Thanks for the questions, guys. You got a lot of really good ones, and it's really cool to see a lot of you that I've been seeing. You guys have been very active on this regardless of the time of day. I'm still very curious where everyone's from, even if you've told me already. Sorry about that. And we do have a Slack channel. So Slack is a way for us to communicate and continue to communicate with each other, but also more importantly is for all of you to communicate and start to get to know each other. One of the things that I also want to have happen is for you guys to start working on projects together and maybe introduce each other to new jobs, new opportunities, those sorts of things, like that would happen in a real school. So if we were all together, there's a really good chance that you'd be like, hey, my buddy's doing this. You want to come work with us, blah, blah, blah. I want Slack, in theory, to be the channel that helps fuel that. So that was one of the reasons to do Slack. Another one was to have all of these questions on there. And that actually reminds me, I probably should address some of those Slack questions, which I will do in just a moment. So I'm on Slack right now. I'll have a link for the invite in the comment in the description below. But if you're watching the live stream, just go to my last live stream on April 7th. There's a Slack link in there, and you can jump on that. Actually, I think a lot of the videos that were posted today are on there as well. Okay, so there was one of these questions that I saw earlier that I wanted to address. And let's see. If I can find it really quickly, I will. I can't find it really quickly. So when you ask live questions in the live channel on Slack, please keep them nice and concise. That way I can just really quickly pull them up when we're in live. Otherwise, we have to just stick with the live stream, which is fine with me because we get a lot of stuff from this. Okay, so let's back into it. It looks like I have a bad stream right now. I didn't change anything, but now it's saying I have a bad stream. I don't understand that. Okay. Next question. Mohammed Nagy asks, I'm working on a project to get data from the user and then visualize it. So how can I let the user upload the files properly? So I'm not sure what files you're uploading, but we have a tutorial on how to upload large files. Check that one out because that will also show you how to upload any size file, but the large ones will go direct to S3, and then you can handle things from there. I'm not sure what you're trying to visualize, so perhaps you look at Django and chart.js. We have a tutorial on that as well, also on YouTube. So you can check those things out. That will help you visualize graphs. I don't know what you mean by visualize data necessarily, so I'm assuming that you mean data that would be in a graph. That's what I got there. LEX, help me grow in Django. Please create a Plotlib NumPy project in Django and make a tutorial of it. Thank you for the suggestion. Again, after this recording ends, in the comments, please write suggestion : your suggestion and upvote the other ones you want to see with that same thing. I do intend to do stuff with NumPy, Matplotlib, pandas, more things in that area, whether it's related to Django right away or not. I do plan on doing more things there. So yeah, cool. Alex D'Angelo says, yes, it's deployment on Microsoft Web Server, IIS 110. I don't know anything about deployment on Microsoft Web Servers. Thanks for the response there. It looks like you found it amusing. Thank you. So yeah, I would imagine that there is probably, if it's set up anything like a Linux server, then it would be fairly easy to do. I don't know if it is. So you might look up guides on just setting up any Nginx project on a Microsoft Web Server. And then once you figure out how to do that, then figuring out the next step, I don't know. I feel like that's probably redundant and you probably already know that anyway. Okay, so thanks for the question. Appreciate it. Okay, so in my country, we have a problem. Employers are asking inflated demands of over 1,000 knowledge. I'm not sure what you mean by that exactly. What is basic things a confident Django programmer should know? So what should you know as a Django programmer is a really good question. Number one, how to create models, obviously, and also how to use model managers and query set managers and signals. Those are a lot of the things inside of just models that you'll need to know. Views, you want to be able to know how to use function-based views and convert those into class-based views and all of the generic class-based views. Next thing is URL patterns, understanding the regular expressions in there, understanding how that part works, and how to have submodules of URLs, meaning that include method if you're not familiar with that. A fairly good hold on the Django documentation and also how to look things up would be a good thing. Let's see, what else? in the Django admin, you'll probably want to know how to do that. You'll probably want to know how to make a REST API using the Django REST framework. You'll definitely want to know how to write tests or unit tests. Those things I think would be a really good way to get started without getting into too many specifics. Cool. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Stony asks, have you used the asynchronous API clone of Flask named Quart? I have not. I would imagine if Flask is not asynchronous or they don't have any asynchronous packages for it yet, I would imagine they will in the near future, much like Django does. I don't use Flask a whole lot, so I'm not tuned into like when new things come out, so I don't know. Mucha puta. Hey Justin, I wish I could shake your hand because thanks for your job. I've learned a lot from you and still do it. Thanks a lot one more time. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I love hearing from you guys, and I wish I could shake your hand too. Maybe someday we will. Maybe we'll be able to have some sort of actual physical live event. Sorry, when I move my hands, I realize that it goes blurry sometimes. But yeah, someday maybe we will be able to. Thank you for that. I really, really appreciate it. Stony Winston or Vinston asks, do you use HashiCorp tools like Terraform? Blah, blah, blah. No, I do not. You can deploy to multiple platforms such as AWS, Azure. Okay, cool. So I do use cron, but I don't use Nomad and Console Service Discovery. Haven't used any of those tools. They sound interesting. So are you saying that these tools allow you to deploy to platforms like the ones that you listed? If they do, please let me know. That might be even more reason to look into them. What resources would you recommend to pass coding interviews? Go back to what I said earlier with all the things that you have with the freelancer stuff. So if you rewind it back to that, I think that will give you some resources on how to stand out as a person. With coding interviews, well, you're going to want to do as much research on that place in particular to see how they do their interviews anyway. So some of them do whiteboarding, like they say, hey, go to the whiteboard and write this code out. That's one thing. I know there's a lot of different interview challenges that they give that are fairly common. So maybe going through those to have a good idea. But I mean, like, who are you as a developer? Are you the type that just feels like they have to know everything, or are you willing and able to say, hey, I don't actually know how to do that. If you gave me my computer, I could do it in a little bit because I just need to do some research. I feel like that's a great answer, but I don't hold these sorts of things myself. So I'm probably not the best person to ask. What I would do is I would look. Actually, I just saw this on YouTube the other day. One of the Etsy developers, I think it was something like what I learned from doing 250 coding interviews, something along those lines. That's actually really interesting because that guy's interviewed 250 people for doing these coding interviews. So you would have a better idea of that there. I'm just probably not the right person to ask there. But I'm happy to strategize with you on what other things you can do to stand out. Let me know if you have other questions. Stony, thanks for chatting with Rohit on some stuff. Appreciate it. Rak Kumar asks, hey, can you tell me about technologies or languages that are evergreen and can have a future career in? Yeah, so deep learning. Deep learning is a huge one right now. Deep learning in many ways is like mobile app development back in 2007, 2008. It's a sort of a gold rush for deep learning, and it's going to be quite a bit. It's going to be quite interesting to see where deep learning goes. Yeah, Web Your Mind. Java and JavaScript are different. Absolutely, without a doubt, they are 100% different. You thought that Angular was a Java framework? Nope, it's a JavaScript front-end framework written in TypeScript that gets compiled down to JavaScript. Simone asks, would you use S3 over Postgres SQL instance in production? Perhaps you asked this after I respond to your last one, so maybe go back to the last one. Stony Vinston, for larger amounts of data where you have a Presto server, you can join tables from different database types such as MySQL and Hive. Oh, thanks. That's interesting. Good to know. Dodo Quack, what are the advantages of Django, DJ Registration Redux versus authentication using extended built-in user model? Thank you. So Django Registration Redux, I think, is no more. I think you'd want to use Django Registration if you're going that way. The advantage of that is speed. The disadvantage, obviously, is not necessarily fully knowing what's happening in the registration process. So that's where doing your own built-in one would be a good idea. That's what I'd say. Especially if you want to know more. Yeah. Shahuti Miguel. I might have to just start calling you Miguel. Yeah. Sorry for pronouncing your name incorrectly. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much. You're welcome. I've learned a lot in CFE. I am a member. Thank you so much. I'm glad to have you with us. My tutorial project is in Spanish, as you suggested, via Team CFE. Okay. I hope I can help the community as much as you do. Thanks so much, Miguel. I appreciate it. And you'll promise to send me an audio with a pronunciation of it. That's awesome. So, Miguel, what I would say is to start helping is to just jump in on Slack and just chime into different conversations that are happening there, even if they've already been seemingly talked about and finished. Because what I've found with conversations in any sort of forum, and of course you could do this on joincfe.com as well, but what I found is sometimes you might mention something months later, and that person comes back and says, wow, like I actually found this solution as well, but yours is something I need to try, and blah, blah, blah. So even if something seems like it's gone, might as well comment on it every once in a while, because you never know who is going to end up helping. Stony, thanks for the contribution. I appreciate that you're helping the fellow people on the web chat. Yeah, I do appreciate that. Thank you. And would love to have you at the Slack channel as well. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and post the link in the web chat too for the Slack channel. So I'm posting it right now, and there it goes. So if you use that link, wait, I think that's the link to actually grab the Slack channel and join us in there. I'm not sure how long we're going to do something like this Slack channel because realistically, I'd probably rather have that on joincfe.com in general. But Slack has so many features that are really nice for that communication, so it's not something I'm going to have anytime soon on our own website. Cool. So let's keep going. Simone, I think we've been talking about the same things a lot here. So, and it looks like Stony even gave you some response there. So hopefully that clarifies everything for you. Marco asks, how different is real world programming like job and learning and completing courses and stuff? So what's the difference between being in a job while you learn and doing a course and while you learn? So being in a job or working in real production, a lot of times you don't have time to spend watching a 5-10 hour course. So you really have to start picking little pieces and put those together to get your stuff out there without always fully knowing exactly the ramifications of it. So that's where you write tests and do all that. Where obviously doing it in a course, you can take your time, you can mess up a lot, and you should. Where with your job, if you mess up a lot, you should do that fast and learn from it fast so then you can get it back out there. That's just sort of a general idea there. The other thing is you'll probably, with a job, you might really benefit from using Stack Overflow a lot more, posting, commenting, responding, doing all those things. So when you need help, you get help. That's the other thing too. Rohit, thank you to Stony. Yeah. Good job. Thanks, guys, for chatting with each other. Our team says I was studying 1.5 years or 1.5 years to get first job in Django. I am super stupid if I nearly wasted 6 hours a day during a period. I can't say this is my passion. One day I love code. Other, I hate it. Oh, okay. So you spent a lot of time learning how to code, and sometimes you spend a lot of time doing seemingly worthless things. This does happen. Like, we run into issues with our projects, and it might take hours and hours and hours to fix it. And those things are unbelievably frustrating. I totally hear you. So what I would say is listen to my podcast about on a scale of 1 to 10. It's on YouTube. It's also on my podcast. But you can watch on YouTube and listen to that one on a scale of 1 to 10. Some days you don't have to love what you do. I totally get that. I mean, I have those days too where you just need a break. And especially if you ran through one problem after and you just were hammering at it for hours and hours and hours. So what I would recommend you do is stop when you're getting super frustrated. You find yourself getting super frustrated. Just stop and go relax. Go hang out. Go to the gym. Go play some video games. Go hang out with your friends. Go hang out with your family. Just do something to relax, because once you relax, then you might find a solution for you. But then also, then you'll hopefully start to realize that, as much as I love the things that I do, and as much as I think that I'm giving impact, at the end of the day, what really matters, right? Is it learning and building a career and all that stuff? I think that's absolutely part of it, but it's also like living life beyond just work, right? So I'm fortunate enough that my work and life are heavily integrated, but there's also times that I just completely separate it from it, and I spend time with my family or my friends, and that's I think an important part of doing all of this. So then you just don't burn yourself out because of work. And yeah, if you do that, then eventually you will hate it. Like Elon Musk is a good example of somebody who has been very, very successful, that quite literally says, I don't know if I would want to do this if I were you. I don't know if you'd want to work like I do if I were you. He literally says that, and it's probably because it really takes a toll on him personally, even with all the things that are going on success-wise. I think those things are great, but there's definitely some challenges to working constantly. So yeah, you want to take those breaks. You want to take a nap, or even if you take a few days off, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you have a job that doesn't allow for that, then maybe it's time to look to work somewhere else. Maybe it takes 6 months to find it, but if you work somewhere that's soul crushing, you shouldn't work there. I just believe that. I think you should go somewhere that you're inspired to be at, and that helps you inspire others to make things happen. A little bit of a tangent. I'm with you there, though. I totally understand that sometimes you feel like you waste time doing this, but every little step, every little error, every little problem, every little frustration, all of those things end up building your skills. If you take a step back and try and learn from them and ask yourself those questions, why aren't I getting this right? Why isn't this working? And then maybe even asking other people for help as well that may have been through it. That's part of the reason I'm here, is I realize that you guys hit those frustrations, even with the things that I spent a ton of time trying to think about and make as easy as possible for you. I realize that there's still those problems. And so, consider coming to these live streams. Consider asking questions on Stack Overflow, on Reddit. Do it in places and in a way that's not, like how you did. You're just very honest and open and not necessarily demanding a lot. So I do appreciate the honesty, and thanks for bringing it up. I do think that, if you love code and most of the time you love it, then you might want to stick with it. If most of the time you hate it, then maybe a different career for a little while, or a different skill for a little while, because that will also help you get out of a funk. If you find something else that you just are obsessed with, then just go and do that thing, because software and writing code is not for everybody. I kind of wish that it was myself, but I'm in that melting pot, right? I believe in it heavily, but it's really not for everyone. I totally get that. So I think that you should find what you love, but also what you're good at, and something that doesn't provide sort of like soul-crushing work. I couldn't ever do that. So if I hated this, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to do this, Good luck. Really, good luck. All right. Dislod says, hey, Justin, thanks for all the tutorials. One question: what is your advice to create registration apps from scratch, and suggest or any idea with Django 2.0? Yeah, you can create them from scratch. It's not that difficult to do. You just have to know what methods you need, such as authenticate and login. You need to make sure that those methods are in your login function. On my e-commerce course, I discuss how to do all of this manually, as well as on sending email confirmations, so confirming your email and stuff like that. All of that is in joincfe.com/courses. It's the e-commerce course, not e-commerce 2 or any e-commerce archive project. It's e-commerce course. Thanks for the question. Okay, so let's see, Joe. Let's see, where are you, Joe? Okay, Joe says, when customizing a domain after deploying to Heroku, do you need to take any extra steps from specialty extension domains like .io? Heroku domains keeps returning, cannot find that domain name. So assuming you own a bunch of different domain names and you want them all associated to the same Django project, not just redirecting them. So like on your domain registrar, you can redirect them to any domain. So you might redirect them to your Django project. So I don't think there's any extra steps you need to have for specialty extensions. Just keep in mind that if you end up doing a wildcard domain and you're trying to have them do the SSL certificate for free, I don't believe that works. So that might be part of the problem. Cool. Thanks for the question. Hopefully that answers your question. You also might hit up Heroku and see why your specific case is happening, because bugs happen and they might be able to shed some light on that. AliX, cool that you studied at Copenhagen Business School. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. You studied at the Norwegian Business School in Oslo, which is very much alike with Copenhagen Business School. Now let's automate everything we learned. Yeah, right? Totally. I mean, I think Scandinavian countries or just Northern Europe, there's a lot of interesting things going on there, as well as just a different perspective of life in general. I did enjoy my time there, and it's been a while. It's been over 10 years since I've been there, so I'm going to have to come back at some point. Joe Brennan again says, when trying to re-add the domain, it says it was already added. Oh, that probably means that maybe just remove it and bring it back in, and that might be good. Stoney says that Jeremy Howard's deep learning course is Fast AI is good at deep learning as well as engineering. So some more suggestions, a couple of them that I kind of mentioned already, but thanks, Stoney. Appreciate it. Glad to hear that other people have enjoyed those as well. Brandon Jacoby, what is the difference between serializer method field and a nested serializer? So a serializer method field, it goes off of the instance itself. So you can run some sort of method on that instance, where a nested serializer is more likely another serializer that's inside of it. So like another model serializer inside of another model serializer, and they have some sort of relation to one another, whether it's a foreign key or something different. Most likely a foreign key, though. Eknos, thanks for the Slack channel. Can you share the details again? I think I missed the details. What's the Slack channel name? Slack channel name is Coding for Entrepreneurs. I will paste the link again. Should be somewhere here on a web stream, or go to the April 7th YouTube video, and you should find the Slack channel there. Kahal says, hey, Justin, is it possible to return data on a post form on the same page without redirecting or saving the form? Well, I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to do, but you can look into using Ajax. That would be how you would probably end up doing that, using Ajax on your form, which you might need jQuery to do, or some other JavaScript library. Okay, so Simone says, when I post to production, i.e. Heroku or AWS, how would my project be stored? Would it be on the DB? Would the DB be on the server, or an application server be the Nginx or AWS, or is it Heroku or AWS? So if you use Heroku has an application server. I believe Heroku uses Nginx. I'm pretty sure they do. And then you would put JUnicorn in there, and then it runs together with what's in your proc file, and your actual code for your project is stored on your application server. So it wouldn't be stored in like S3 or something like that, but your static files could be. So it'd be on your actual application server, which is probably one of their cloud services. Their actual infrastructure, I would have to do more research on. So let me know if you have questions for that. Okay, guys. So I'm just gonna do maybe like 10 more minutes, and I'm gonna rapid fire these next ones. So hopefully I get to your question. If I don't, please leave them in the comments of the video, so I can actually look at them next time, whenever that's gonna be. Probably tomorrow, but I have a few things I need to work out first before I schedule tomorrow's. So tomorrow will be scheduled tomorrow if we end up doing one tomorrow. Okay, So I'm going to just go through these as quickly as possible. Rohit, thanks, Justin, for answering your questions on interviews. You're welcome. Other than passing interviews, would you recommend what we should do to stand out? Look what everyone else is doing and try and do the opposite of what they're doing. And then, blogging, vlogging, writing videos, talking about your experiences. When you go to interviews, talk about your experience interviewing there, whether or not you get the job, and just do it from a very objective standpoint. I think that would be pretty interesting to hear about, not just for potential hiring partners, but also for your fellow people that are looking for jobs as well. So writing about your experience, I think, will help you stand out, because most people don't do that. And if you're hearing me say this, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm probably not going to do that. It's probably because most people don't do it. So that's how you can stand out. There's many other ways. You can start teaching courses too on how to interview, or what I learned interviewing, or blah, blah, blah. There's just so many things that you can do to stand out. You just have to see what everyone else is doing and try and do the opposite. You can still do a lot of the things that they're doing, but to really stand out, you have to do what they're not doing. In other words, standing out. So think of those sorts of ideas. Maybe look up entrepreneurial things as well. So like different entrepreneurial videos to see how entrepreneurs stand out or small businesses stand out, so you can see how they do it, because marketing is marketing, even if it's for an individual or for a company. Hey, Raj, thanks for letting me know what I should call you. I appreciate that. You have a Pandas data frame and you like to display it using Django Views or any other way. What's some other way to beautifully tackle this? So how to display a data frame? There might be a third-party package that does that specifically. That's a really good question. I don't have an answer for you. Perhaps a post on Stack Overflow would be really good, or inside of the Slack channel. Looks like the link is not working, is what I just got. So I'm going to just double check it. And it's leaking for me. It's working for me. So when you say it's not working, please let me know why. Hello to that last one. Thanks. You're welcome for the question. Any suggestion for Django pre-built open source packages? What can be modified and advanced? Pre-built packages, you mean entire projects? Because every Django, like if you search for Django packages, all of those are pre-built packages, and they mostly are open source. I think it's called, I don't remember the name of it, but there's like an actual website for a bunch of Django packages. It might even be called Django packages, but you can search that in general. You meant to link to Django websites where you can find pre-built packages. GitHub, that's a great place for it. Can you deploy a Django app on Ethereum? Not that I know of. I believe Django's a centralized application. Ethereum, if I'm correct with my understanding of Ethereum is decentralized. So Django doesn't work with Ethereum. You'd have to make a decentralized app using Ethereum. You might be able to do it with Django. I just haven't seen that done. So I don't know. Brandon Jacoby, glad that I can help. I'm glad that they are helping your startup slowly come to life. Great. Hey, every step is a step in the right direction, Like, if it takes you a year to make your startup happen, but you code everything yourself, like all of those skills will stay with you if your startup doesn't. If your startup fails, all those skills will continue. I know because I'm speaking from personal experience. Felly Fell, thank you. Appreciate it. Wadi, hello. Django and Elasticsearch, any tips? There's probably a blog article somewhere out there to show you exactly how to do it. Rohit, thank you. Great advice. I'm glad it helped. Looks like we're at the end of all the questions. Thank you guys for coming out. Safuni Farasi, hello. Thank you. And thanks so much for joining us, joining me on this live stream. I really appreciate it. I will tell you, one of my goals with YouTube before the end of the year, hopefully sooner, but one of my goals is to hit 100,000 subscribers. I think I can do it. I will need your help though. So have some of your friends, even if one or two of your friends just subscribes. If they want to learn and see everything, just hit that bell for notifications, of course. But I want to hit 100,000 for a specific reason. More questions come when more eyeballs are on the content, and that helps me make better content. And that also helps you guys. So that's how I feel about it. Obviously, it'd be cool to have 100,000 too. I haven't really been super dedicated to YouTube from my whole time of doing coding for entrepreneurs. And I think to my own detriment, because I haven't been able to have these sorts of conversations or really get to know you guys on YouTube better, because I know a lot of you just love using YouTube as I do. So I really would love to hit it to 100,000. If you guys can help me, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep creating content, talking with you guys, and really trying to help you get your projects going. Thanks so much for coming out. I really look forward to seeing you next time. And thanks again for all the great questions. I learned a lot. Hopefully you did too. See you next time, guys. Thanks so much.